Hello everyone, welcome back. Once again, we're going to be reading more of my mysterious novel, completely forgotten by even me. The only thing that has happened since the first video was recorded is that I posted the first video and realized that I had been recording with my microphone directly beside my mouse, so the clicking sounds from my mouse should hopefully be a little bit quieter in this video. But just to clarify something here, which I don't know if I actually mentioned in Chapter 1, I have not read any of this since realizing that it existed and that I did not recall what was in it. So I am going to be just as surprised as you are when anything happens in this story. I kind of figure I'll probably start to remember certain things as we continue forward here, but I mean, there's no guarantees. So far, I still don't know who Michael is. So, either we'll find out or we won't. I assume we're going to find out because this is Chapter 2, Meeting the Heroes. Da 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 da. Alright, sorry. That's kind of what came to mind. Chapter 2, Meeting the Heroes. 1 year later, in the summer of 2021, is where we will meet our heroes. None were particularly noteworthy at the beginning of the story, but every man has his story to tell, so I will elaborate on them as much as possible. One thing I'll say is that I definitely should have been a little bit better with my narrator's voice here, but we'll see. Maybe it fits the story. Michael Stone was 17 years old at this time. He had blonde hair and deep gray eyes. He had graduated from college the year before after having aced high school in a single year. Nice. He had shown exceptional promise, especially in science and mathematics during his schooling, and had taken up a job soon after his graduation. His skills in technology made him an exciting prospect for many companies, and he was even working 2 jobs at the time of the story. The rest of his time he spent in his house, barely coming out except to shop when it was necessary. This fact made it so that he was rather pale-skinned and rather weak. The town in which he lived had many rumors as to why he was such a recluse, some saying that he was some sort of mad scientist who made monsters in his basement, others that he worked so hard at his jobs that he slept the rest of the day away, and still others who said that he spent his spare time calculating the exact value of pi. Whatever the reason, though, he was a rare sight in town. When he did appear, he was often just seen walking circles around his community, wearing a rather pensive expression. When talked to, he would usually mumble something akin to, "Would you mind not disturbing me while I'm thinking?" Those who supported the monster in the basement theory claimed he was trying to come up with more ideas for his creations. Wonderful start. A completely different case would be that of Richard Carson. The second member of our group, he was obsessed with physical fitness and spent close to 3 hours a day lifting weights. Honestly, even to this day, I have no idea how much a day most weightlifters actually lift, so I have no idea if that's accurate. Castor, let me know. He had brown hair and green eyes. He also was a rather good hunter, as well as being much more outgoing than Michael. Well, duh. He was 19 at the time of these events, and was just about to enter his sophomore year of college. His life, though hard, was excellent preparation for what was to come. When he was 2, his mother died while giving birth to his sister Jessica. When he was 17, his father died, and it fell to him to take care of his sister. No next of kin? Oh, wow. He became obsessed with keeping her safe, and his workout routine was largely a result of this, as he knew it would be important to be able to defend himself and his sister should anyone attack them. He was considering abandoning his education in favor of getting a job. Honestly, where's all the money coming from? Apparently his parents were rich. So that he could provide for his sister. Okay, let me read the sentence. He was considering abandoning his education in favor of getting a job so that he could provide for his sister. But it was at this time that he received a full college scholarship in football. Look at this guy go. Taking a job in a local supermarket turned out to be the way that he provided food for his sister. Yeah, I'm not entirely certain if you would have time to do that, during football season anyway. Though the salary was mediocre at best, the discount that he received on the store's merchandise proved more than enough to allow him to put food on the table. Jessica, however, refused to let him provide for both of them, so she also took a job. This brings us to the third person in the group. Jessica learned to fend for herself soon after her father died and decided to learn to defend herself, redundant, as she was strongly independent. She had brown hair and green eyes like her brother, but her hair was slightly lighter than that of her brother. Okay. Her physical strength was not enough to satisfy her, so she decided to go to the next level. It did not take long for her to earn her black belt in Kung Fu, which, as everyone knows, is something you can do very quickly. Her independence further showed itself when she decided to help her brother bring in the bacon. She also took a job at the supermarket and had proven herself quite hard working. Don't like the phrasing. She was 17 at the time of our story and was about to start her senior year of high school. She was tall, thin, and very athletic. In fact, she was a star of her school's track team and had taken gold in the 100-meter dash the last 2 years running. With these three people, it would have seemed a rather ludicrous suggestion that they would have even become friends, let alone go on an adventure like the one they were about to undertake. Even on the very day that they began their adventure, nothing seemed different than any other day. It was just destined to happen the way it did. I'm reading this on a 40-inch screen and realizing that that's making it a little bit hard to go from one side of the page to the other quickly, so please excuse if I have some trouble doing that occasionally. As previously mentioned, the day that the three first met face-to-face was just like any other in many respects. Summer was just about to end, so Jessica and Richard decided to make the most of the day and go down a scenic trail located nearby the town where they lived. It was just a coincidence that Michael decided to deviate from his usual route in favor of following the same trail that the siblings had taken. Following the same trail. Good job, me. Likewise, the facts that Richard and Jessica were walking slowly and enjoying the scenery, and that Michael was walking faster than they were, being deep in thought, were also coincidences. As he trudged along the path, Michael was getting closer and closer to the vital meeting, as well as coming closer to the fateful adventure that would change his life forever. It was a little past noon when he finally overtook the two siblings. He didn't seem to even notice them as he walked by, save for the slight adjustment in his path so as not to collide with the two as he passed. It at first seemed that nothing would come of the encounter, if indeed it could be called that at this point, but destiny was to show itself again. A well-placed twig was all it took for the uneventful meeting to become the start of something much bigger than anyone could have predicted. Michael, preoccupied with his thoughts, failed to notice it lying among the leaves. His foot caught it just enough to throw him off balance. As he tumbled forward, the siblings, who Michael had passed a few moments prior, noticed and rushed to help him. As Richard helped him to his feet, he recognized him, yet another important coincidence. It was not long before he had started a conversation with the young man. "You're Michael Stone, right?" Richard asked as he helped Michael up. "Yes, that's me," Michael said in his hushed voice. He only ever seemed to talk in this tone. It was flat and emotionless, a fact that made many believe that he was a machine when they met it. "How do you know me?" "We live a few houses down from you," responded Richard. "Well, it's a pleasure to meet you," Michael said, speeding up. It now became obvious that he was not interested in talking to anyone, but Richard persisted. "Hey, are you sure you're all right? That was a nasty fall." "I'm fine, I just tripped." "There's nothing to be worried about," Michael responded. "Do you come on this trail often?" Richard questioned. Michael stopped where he was and turned around. "I was trying to think, but since you seem intent on keeping me from it, I guess I can spare a few minutes." He stood a few feet in front of Richard, who had stopped as well, along with Jessica, who was listening to their conversation. "I don't come here often," Michael continued. "I usually just walk around the community. But there is a bit too much traffic in that area. I thought I could have a little more silence here, but I guess I was wrong." "I didn't mean to disturb you. I was just worried that you could have been hurt," Richard countered. "Don't be. I know how to take care of myself." Michael started to walk off, then stopped. Turning around, he looked at the other two. "I'm sorry for being sort of antisocial at the moment," he started. "I was trying to think, and I guess it's not that important anyway. So, what are your names?" "I'm Richard Carson, and this is my sister, Jessica," Richard responded. "Well, then, it's good to meet you both," Michael said. He turned around and continued down the path. "Feel free to walk with me if you would like to keep talking," he said. His invitation was promptly accepted, as the other two were quite curious about their strange new acquaintance. They were soon joined in a rather active conversation, all of them, including Jessica, asking question after question about each other. Michael's quiet, stern demeanor soon melted away, revealing that he truly was quite starved for companionship. Little aside here, this is what happens when I assume I know how a sentence is going to be worded, and it's not worded the way I expect. This is why I edit by reading out loud, so that I can realize where words actually are instead of where I think they are. So, Michael's quiet, stern demeanor had soon melted away, revealing that he truly was quite starved for companionship. It came as little wonder to Richard and Jessica, as he had always seemed lonely whenever they had seen him walking by himself. The conversation finally took the inevitable turn to the one obvious question that was in the minds of both Richard and Jessica. It was Jessica who finally got around to asking it. "You know, Michael, I can't see why you always seem to be by yourself. You're a nice guy, at least by what I've seen. Yet I've never seen you talking to anyone else," she said. "If it were my choice, I would like to have a lot of friends, but it's always the same deal. I'm always seen as a nerd or a geek or something of the like. Naturally, the most self-respecting people aren't much interested in being seen with me. It would be socially degrading or some other nonsense. Basically, after college, I stopped trying to make friends. It always ended up the same way. Somebody jokes about them being friends with a nerd, and they leave so that nobody would make fun of them anymore. I got sick and tired of it after a while." Michael just stayed silent for a while, looking at the ground. "A while," repeating "a while," twice. Show of hands who actually noticed. "You know, if I could make a suggestion, people might not call you a nerd or a geek if you built up a little muscle," Richard suggested. "I've tried that, and I just don't have the time. Between my jobs and..." Michael stopped for a moment. "My jobs take up all the time I have," he finally continued. "I don't have any time to spend up building up my physique. Believe me, I've tried." I think this has to do with Michael's secret." "Could it be?" "He's very subtle. Between my jobs and..." They walked in silence for a while. Finally, Michael stopped. "I'd better get home. I'm working on a project at home, and I'd better get back to it." Wow. Talk about reusing wording. Better get home, better get back to it. Project at home. Oof. Rough sentence. "It was good talking to you. Maybe we could do it again sometime." He began walking back down the path. He looked up suddenly as he heard the other's footsteps beside him. "We have to get home sometime soon anyway." I think one word "sometime" would be correct here. "We might as well enjoy each other's company while we go back," Richard said in answer to Michael's unasked question. Michael smiled. "I would like that." Jessica walked up beside them. "So, would it be an imposition if I asked about your project?" she asked. Asked and asked. Michael looked at her and shook his head. "I can't talk about it, not right now anyway. Not until it's ready." "So, is it an invention?" Jessica persisted. Michael gave her a sidelong glance. "Is there no end to your questioning?" He gave a soft smile. "Who knows? You might see it when it's finished." Suddenly, Michael stopped and looked around quickly. He took a couple steps toward the trees, then shook his head quickly, while turning back to face the siblings. "What was it?" asked Richard. "I don't know. I thought I heard something, but I guess it was..." He turned around again, faster this time. "I know I heard something that time," he said. "Calm down, Michael. It's probably just an animal or something," Jessica said. "That was no animal," he persisted. He walked off the path and into the trees. "It was a person." "How can you tell the difference?" asked Richard, bewildered. Funny thing is, before I read that, I was about to make the same comment, but I figured I might answer my own question. "I caught a glimpse of him running through the trees. He was trying to stay out of sight, low to the ground," responded Michael. He continued scanning through the shadows, looking for any sign of what he had seen before. Seeing nothing, he turned back. "We need to leave here, fast," he whispered urgently. Richard looked into the forest. He saw nothing, but the urgency in Michael's voice had him spooked. "If you say so," he said quietly. He motioned quickly to Jessica. They walked quickly down the path for a moment, then, at Michael's signal, they began to run. They heard someone running in the forest and picked up... In the forest? Did we say there was a forest before? Okay, never mind. They heard someone running in the forest and picked up the pace. Suddenly, Michael felt a stabbing pain in his shoulder. He found himself unable to run, then just dropped to the ground. As he lay there, he became aware of the voices of his friends. The alarming thing, though, was that they seemed to be getting farther away. Everything began to fade until, finally, he blacked out. Alright, so getting started here with the actual A-plot, I suppose. As I'm sure everyone noticed by how many times I stopped to point them out, one thing that I am very bad at in general is repeating wording close together. The same wording, the same words, things like that. Not always something I try to avoid, but definitely something that is awkward unless there's a good reason for it. So in general, if I were to go back through and actually edit this, again, going back to what I said in Chapter 1, If I were to try to extract something from these stories, I would probably take ideas and rewrite the whole thing. But if I were to try to just do a spelling and grammar check, that would be the main thing I would look for currently, is that. As previously mentioned, the narrator's voice is pretty informal is not the word I'm looking for, I don't think. Loose. Trying to think on my feet to try to figure out a good way to explain what I'm thinking about it, but generally, if I'm doing a third-person omniscient narrator, I want the narrator to be omniscient and more, maybe impartial is the word I'm looking for. May not necessarily be bad. What I think is bad is the blocks here on the first page of the chapter. The 2 paragraphs at the top here especially. Jessica's a little bit shorter because I've used a little bit of the description of her brother to shorten her description. But yeah, just the massive block of text. I think the general explaining of the story, or explaining of the characters in this way isn't necessarily bad. But yeah, I mean, thinking about just this, all the things that I explained in these 3 paragraphs. Here's an example of the weird informality, as previously mentioned. Previously on the Tremendous Trio. But, I'm not trying to speak well right now, but I am hemming and hawing a lot because I'm thinking. But you can take all those 3 paragraphs and you can put them into the conversation. And I don't even think it's particularly difficult because we're dealing with a conversation where 3 characters are introducing one another. So even like at the beginning here, I probably wouldn't have Richard know Michael's name right off the bat. Maybe it's one of those things where if I'm going to stick with the kind of idea of him being this folk legend, if you want to put it that way, this mad scientist archetype that the neighbors notice, his name would almost definitely get around. We're also dealing here with the fact that we're dealing with very young people living on their own. So we got 17-year-old Michael Stone and 19 and I believe also 17-year-old Jessica. So very young people living on their own. I'm not sure why I thought that Richard and Jessica would not go to the next of kin. Because, what was it, when he was 17? Yeah, they were orphaned when Richard was 17, so, I mean, he's still a minor at that point. I'd have to actually look up legalities of these things, but almost definitely wouldn't just be able to be hanging out solo, but, tweaking the ages, moving narration from narration into dialogue, but I think I'm starting to get the general recollection of where this, like, the arc, let's say, of the story. Like, I think I could maybe not write an outline, but I could get pretty close to writing an outline of what I think is going to happen in this story. And if I'm right about it, one thing I was noticing as I'm scrolling here, I'm at page 13 of 57 here. So we're already getting somewhere between 20 and 25% through the manuscript at this point. This is a short book. I looked up the word count. It's 22,000 words. And I'm concerned that not enough is going to happen in this book. If that's the case, then might be interesting to, again, if I'm going to pull ideas from here, it might be interesting to see about combining the two books into a single thing. It's interesting. I'm enjoying myself. It's interesting to be, to walk through and talk through my thought process as I'm reading my own work, and the fact that I don't really remember everything that happens here. I mean, we can kind of already realize that these three are going to be caught up in this experiment. But not really knowing what's going to happen is very interesting, considering that it's my work. So yeah, hopefully, if anybody's still around, hopefully you enjoyed this little exploration. If you want to leave a like again, I don't know how much people enjoy me reading. I think I'll post this tonight as well. And if anybody does listen to this, if anybody does get to this point in the video, let me know. Should I... Let me put it this way. Let me actually rephrase. I think my goal moving forward is going to be to read it more straight through, rather than stopping so much to comment on issues that I see. Just because I think I enjoy that, and I think it's probably better to do that, and then I can go back and do my summary critique of the chapter after I finish. I think that would probably be the better situation. So, if anybody's still there, thanks for watching, and see you next time.